Hey! In today's video, I'm going to show you 3 different ways to make the disappearing 9-inch quilt block. The first way will be using the acrylic ruler and a rotary cutter, and I'm going to show you 2 different ways to use the Accuquilt Go Qube dies to make this wonderful block. Hi, my name is Tammy. I'm a human being, and now let's get into it. The first way I'm going to show you on how to make the disappearing 9-patch quilt block is to use a acrylic ruler and a rotary cutter. I have a 4-inch OmniGrid acrylic ruler. I'm using the Martelli rotating cutting mat here, and I also have the rotary cutter from Missouri Star. So let me show you how I do that now. So here is the first color in the disappearing 9-patch block. I have already I fan folded the fabric prior to cutting it, but it's just 4 square blocks. And let me show you how I cut this same square using the Accuquilt Go Qube system. I'm using my Go Qube 6-inch mix and match set. I have die number 1, which is the basic square, and this is the same shape of the acrylic template I just used to rotary cut this shape. So I fan folded my fabric so that I have 4 pieces that will cut in one pass through my Go Big cutter. I've placed the fabric over the die. I'm going to put the mat on top and then cut the fabric. And there you have it. Remove the mat, take off the excess fabric, and now I have 4 squares that are cut. My disappearing 9-patch quilt block will be made of 3 colors. So it'll have this orange color, this green, and the white. What I'm going to do now is use my acrylic ruler, acrylic template, and my rotary cutter to cut these other 2 colors. And essentially it's just 9 blocks that are 4 inches wide. For the Accuquilt Go Qube system, there are 2 different ways to cut these 2 colors with those dies. So let me do the rotary cutting first, and then I'll take you over to the Go Big machine and show you how I cut those shapes with these 2 colors. These are all the pre-cut shapes that I'll be using to make the disappearing 9-patch quilt block. The first set of cut squares here, I used my 4-inch acrylic ruler to cut the squares. The second set here, I used my Accuquilt Go Qube 6-inch mix and match set to cut the pieces. So this square right here, I used shape number 1. And for this shape, the 4 squares that are in orange, I used shape number 2. And for the rectangles, I used shape number 8. This third set here is using the Accuquilt cutting die, but I only used shape number 1 to make the square. So the difference between this set of squares using the 4-inch acrylic is that it's a larger square, and this one is essentially the same shape. I just used the die from the Go Qube set. So what I'm going to do now is piece together all of the segments of the block, and then I'll show you step by step how this disappearing 9-patch quilt block comes together. Stay tuned. What you see before you are the sections of the disappearing 9-patch quilt block that I've assembled. This first set here is the squares that I used my 4-inch acrylic ruler and my rotary cutter to cut. And what will happen next is I will piece these rows together, then I'll piece those rows together to make one complete block. I will perform the same technique for this third section here, this third set. This is essentially the same one as this one. I just used my 6-inch Go Qube Accuquilt die to cut these squares so they are way more accurate, and I cut them way more faster. So again, these rows will be pieced together. Then I'll piece that row and it'll make one complete square, which then I will take my rotary cutter and cut these 2 down the center here and across here to make the disappearing square. Little cheater here. This is the second technique that I used. Again, I used my Go Qube 6-inch mix and match set. And as you can see here, I've organized it to how the finished block will look. But these orange pieces were already cut with the Accuquilt die. These orange pieces are equivalent to the squares here and the square here, and these green or lime color pieces are equivalent to that square and that square. So essentially the main difference between these two is that this one has already quote unquote disappeared the square here, and these two I need to finish assembling the rows together and then use my rotary cutter to cut here and then cut here and then rotate those quadrants together to equal what this is already pre-cut and done. So stay tuned so I can show you that process. Hey, hey, hey! We are in the home stretch of completing this disappearing 9-patch quilt block. What I've done here is I have pieced together all 9 squares. This is the one, again, that I use my Accuquilt cutter or Accuquilt Go Qube system to cut. And what will happen next are these 2 units, and these 2 units will be pieced together, and then I'll piece the halves together so that it looks like these 2. What I'll do next is you can kind of already see what the finished product will look like. It'll look like this. So I am going to show you how I disappear the 9-patch using my rotary cutter and my Martelli rotating mat. Stay tuned. So for the first technique that I used to make the disappearing 9-patch quilt block, I used a 4-inch OmniGrid acrylic ruler, and actually it's 4.5-inch, 4-inch finished. And so what I have here is my Martelli rotating cutting mat. So as you can see here, nice 4-inch square. So in order to make this block disappear, I need to cut here and I need to cut across there. So in order to do that accurately so that my corners are nice and square, I've positioned the block on the cutting mat and 1, 2, 3, 4 inches here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my acrylic ruler here and I'm going to rotary cut straight down there, and then I'm going to rotate the mat. Actually, I'll turn it this way because I'm left-handed. And then I will have, again, 1, 2, 3, 4. I will slice here, and then that'll give me 4 units, and I'll show you what that looks like in just a second. Stay tuned. I just noticed, and I don't know if you've picked up on it as well, that my color scheme is off slightly. My corners are orange, but on this particular block, my rectangles are white and my square is this green lime. And then over here, my rectangle is like this green lime and my square is white. Hey, it happens. This is for demonstration purposes only, and I am not putting these blocks into a project. So here we go. So what I'm going to do now is disappear these corners here. So this one will stay in its current position. This one, the orange square, will come to the corner here. This one, the orange square, will go up to that corner. And then this one will stay put. So the 2 squares that were moved were these 2 to disappear the 9-patch block. Let me piece this together and show you the finished project. Stay tuned. Ta-da! Here are the 3 completed disappearing 9-patch quilt blocks that I made with 3 different techniques. The first technique I used was my 4-inch acrylic ruler and rotary cutter to cut the squares for this one. These 2 I used a variation of 1 and 3 dies from the 6-inch Accuquilt Go Qube mix and match set to complete these 2 blocks. I am a huge Accuquilt cutting system fan. I do not particularly like rotary cutting, and I definitely don't enjoy using acrylic rulers. However, I discovered during this project that, hey, you know what? If I'm just cutting squares, I'm okay with using an acrylic template and a rotary cutter. This one here was very easy to cut. It was very easy to sew. Actually, I enjoyed it. And of course, these two were enjoyable and easy to cut as well. So my verdict is, if you're making a disappearing 9-patch quilt block, use whatever square you have on board in your studio or in your sewing room. Thanks for joining me today, and I hope that you come back for more videos. And please comment down below and let me know your thoughts. Have you tried the disappearing 9-patch quilt block, and what did you think?